All right, well, today we are spinning another random bunch of tunes from the 60s to the 80s with just one thing in common. They all peaked at number 26 on the Billboard chart. So, how many of them will you be able to recognize from their intros? And can you beat Tim's score? I pointed the wrong way. Can you beat Tim's score? Well, hey, come on in and let's find out. Right. Hey, I'm Joe or JSB, and I'm joined once again by Tim Derlin from Tim's Final Confessions. Welcome back, Tim. Are you ready for another visit to the bottom half of the top 40?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this, Joseph. Last time was fun and educational, so I'm hoping for more of the same, and somewhere along the way, I might catch a song or two.
Yeah, well, we hope so. Now, if you haven't caught a previous episode of this, don't worry, you don't need to have done so. But for the benefit of those joining us for the first time, uh, because my explanations are long-winded, I thought I'd turn it over to you, Tim, to see if you could give them a quick summary of what they should expect, at least as far as you understand it.
Well, I'm kind of a veteran to this now, so because we are in 2026, Joseph is going to play a selection of songs from across the genres within the umbrella of popular music, like he said, ranging from the 60s to the 80s, although he has been known to slip into the early 90s by times, that all peaked at number 26. And as somebody that loves chart information, I love this kind of thing, and it's like I said, it's educational for me. So I'm curious what Joseph is going to throw at me sonically, and hopefully I can catch some of them and throw them back to him.
Well, I expect you will because you've done, you know, pretty well after some really tough ones last time round. Uh, this batch, I think, will be generally a bit easier, but we shall see. So, as you see behind me, I have my big random four-play logo, which is an added complication to this. But basically, we've got the 10 songs. I'm going to play them from a playlist on shuffle, and we'll hear them in small groups, two or three at a time. Tim will try to identify them just from those very short intros, and then from each group, we will choose one song to hear and discuss in full. If that's not complicated enough, I know I said that these songs only have one thing in common, being the fact they did peak at 26, but this time around, that's not quite true. The 10 songs actually managed to fall nicely into five pairs. And just like the songs themselves, some of those connections will be very obvious, and others will involve you having to understand how my brain works, which after 45 years I haven't worked out. So how you will be able to manage, I don't know. So good luck there. So basically, Tim is going to be playing for a total of up to 15 points, and luckily there's no prizes no matter what he wins, so that's fine. But basically 1 point per song and 1 point per pairing that he can identify. We'll probably say those for the end, although if you think that you spotted one along the way, feel free to let us know. And the great thing about this is, of course, people can play along at home. So let us know in the comments how you did by comparison. But, don't cheat and just say you got them all, because we'll know you probably didn't. Although that said, you might have some clues, because half of these are probably going to be in the thumbnail. But Tim does not have any information like that. He's completely in the dark because I'm cruel, basically. So, yeah, there's quite a few moving parts, but if it sounds a bit complicated, don't worry. It's basically just a bit of fun with some hopefully good music and a rather large side dish of geekery. So, shall we move on to the first round? Fingers on
Yeah,
buzzers, players. Yes, we actually don't have buzzers, but I've just always wanted to say that. So,
yeah.
everyone, prepare your brains to identify from very brief snippets of music these songs, starting with. So that's number one.
I know that one quite well.
Okay. Number two is. And number three is this one. All right. Well, we'll start with number one because you know that and see how we go from
I
there.
I actually recognize all of those, and I know the connection with the first two, but not the third one. So the
Okay.
first one was Abacab by Genesis from the album The Same. It's one of my favorite Genesis songs. Um,
Oh,
and then the next one is interesting because its airplay and popularity don't match the position of 26 because it still gets a ton of airplay to this very day. And I'm
Yeah.
surprised that it didn't chart higher. It's In Your Eyes by Peter Gabriel. And of course, Peter Gabriel was in Genesis. And the third one was Donald Fagen from his album The Nightfly and IGY, What a Beautiful World, featuring,
Well,
I believe, I think the late great Jeff Porcaro is on drums. He's maybe not that song, but definitely on some songs on that
yeah,
album.
he is. Though on that particular track, he's on additional drums,
Oh,
whatever that means. And James Gadson is the main drummer for that track. So, yeah, I mean, we're starting off with a bang, three from three. You obviously, if you're playing at home, you can't have beaten Tim there. But and yeah, I mean, I don't think I'm giving too much away to say that you spotted one of the peers already. Obviously, you still had to work out what matches the Donald Fagen tune as we go along.
yeah,
Um,
that one's throwing me because I'm trying. I'm thinking things like producers and record labels.
Well, I mean, I
Is
think I
Tony
think I've
is
managed to
Tony?
make it more complicated than it needed to be
Oh,
because
well, I was just about.
there's a pair of songs and then they're not connected to any of the other songs.
Okay,
So
okay. I
yeah.
wondered, but then I thought, well, I'll try and go for it. And I'm like, did Tony Levin play on the Donald Fagen song? And I,
Oh, if I could have found 10 a complete batch of 10 songs that had all these other connections, I mean, you'd just probably do it with Toto members, wouldn't you? But
when in doubt, it's either one of the Picaros or David Page or Steve Lukather.
yeah.
Yeah,
Always got to squeeze in a Toto reference. That's just my job. But yeah, so I mean, the other periods will become more or less obvious as we go
gotcha.
along. So don't worry about those too much until the end. But yeah, it just happened that one of them happened to be the first two songs, which is part of the whole random thing. So yeah, three from three there. That's very impressive. And which of those? And of course, the rule is you can only have one, but also you must have one. Shall we listen to in full?
Boy, I let's go for Abacab.
All right. Um, and I chose, unusually for me, to have that represented by the single version because I had in my mind that the intro would be easy from that, but it's actually basically the same. It's just
Yeah.
then it takes longer
Also,
to get to the
the
meat of the
album
song.
version is quite long. Like
Yeah, I mean
dun
we've got
dun
time, but
dun 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 dun. Go doom ba ba doom ba doom.
exactly.
Uh,
So
yeah,
since this is a chart show, we might as well
yeah,
have the chart single itself.
that's
That's
right.
I don't have the single edits of any of the other songs, so this will be the only one that we do this for. Um, and speaking, of course, I had to remember this on the first song for a change. The main songs will be edited out of the video on YouTube, but there will be a bonus extended version. Yes, even longer video where you can listen to the songs along with us. So that will be linked in the description below for those who want to actually hear the songs that we are going to be talking about. So, on that note, let us have our first song, which is indeed Genesis, Abacab. Here we go. Single or album, you get the fade out, of course, but that's okay this time. I'll forgive them
That's
for that.
one of the best drum sounds I think I've ever heard. It's everything is just so clear and crisp.
Yeah, it's a fantastic production. I can't even talk tonight. Production is what I was trying to say there. Um, and it's from the period where Phil and Genesis were becoming more and more popular, but without having yet reached ubiquity and resentment at just how inescapable Mr. Collins was for much of the rest of the 80s and even into the 90s. But it's one of those curious things that it was the first single in the UK and made top 10 here, whereas the US got no reply at all, which was slightly lower peak at 29. And then I'm not sure what happened in Canada, but this was 11 in Canada. So maybe you got
I,
that first as well.
no, I tend to usually in Canada it was exactly the same as it was in the US. Um,
Right.
right down to the catalog number.
Okay.
More often than not,
Um,
yeah.
and then, uh, you know, Peter Gabriel with In Your Eyes, as you say, it's a much better known song than the chart peak seems
Well,
to indicate.
you know, to get to for a good example, I hear these days on radio. if you're going to hear a Peter Gabriel song from, let's say, from So, besides Sledgehammer, it's going to be In Your Eyes, even though Big Time was a higher charting song. I'm not
Mm.
saying you never hear it, but you hear In Your Eyes so much more often. I mean,
Oh,
In Your Eyes
that's
charted twice.
what, back in '89 as well. It was
89 when it was in
a
say
film.
say anything, and it only peaked at 45 that second time around, but it did get some more airplay. It was a live version of it,
Right.
but it's very strange that it didn't because I believe it was the very next thing that came out after Sledgehammer. So it went from a number
Oh,
one song to a number 26 song to whatever big time hit, eight, seven,
yeah,
8 or 9,
eight
something like
sounds right
that.
to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, again, strange different choices between the US and the UK because it wasn't released as a single in the UK at all. Um, and I don't know if that's the reason. I'm going to have to confess something at this stage, I'm afraid. Um, this batch of songs was meant to be part one of the 26s, but when it came to compiling that list, I discovered I didn't actually own the song when I thought I did because I have Peter Gabriel's two disc greatest hits, which is just called Hit, and thought, oh yeah, In Your Eyes, yeah, that's on there, and it's not. So I do have it now.
That is one of those annoying things when they put out a hits collection and it's missing something completely obvious.
Yeah, um, but I mean, it's just it's to the point where I thought, oh yeah, I must have that song because it's so,
Here's
no pun intended, obvious.
Yeah,
But
here's
yeah.
here's here's a big difference for in when it comes to Peter Gabriel between the U.S. and Canada. Not necessarily in terms of which singles were released, but in popularity. Games Without Frontiers peaked at 48 on Billboard in the U.S. I
Mhm.
believe it peaked at either 6 or 7 here in Canada. It was a huge hit up here.
Wow. Yeah. It's always interesting how some things just take off in certain territories, whether they get the right push at the right time or they just connect with a certain nationality somehow. I mean,
Yeah,
there's clearly no logic to what makes a hit song
right.
when such different things can happen in different territories. But
Yeah,
um, and then yeah, the Donald Fagen track, of course, which effectively makes him a one-hit wonder as a solo artist.
that's right. Yeah.
And as well as Jeff had, it's hard to work out how to explain this in terms of Toto, but Greg Fillinganes is on that track as well on
Oh
electric
yeah,
piano.
yeah. That's
So
right.
if you
So
call him a two-time ex-member of Toto now,
yeah, he just
uh,
he just hadn't been at that point. So
yeah.
yeah, so anytime you've got Greg Gaines or Nathan East or Lee Sklar, you know, it's
Oh, the the numbers of official Toto
Thriller is
members these
essentially a
days.
Toto album with Michael Jackson singing.
Well, there you go. And move
Yes,
on
yes.
to round two, which is again just going to be two songs this time, and it'll be me choosing one of those for us to hear. We started off with a strong '80s theme for
Yeah, you
the first
spoiled me.
batch.
You spoiled me with that, I have to admit. So,
I don't know that you're going to know the artist here, but you're going to have a pretty damn good guess at what the song is called because it's this.
Where have all the flowers gone? Long time passing.
And if that one was too easy, how about this? All right, I feel you're going to get at least 1.5 marks out of those two possible points.
well, okay, so I mean, I know the first one was Where Have All the Flowers Gone, but yeah, like you said, the question is who is it? It was I want to say that was written by am I right by saying Pete Seeger?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know that it was done okay. The only group I know for sure recorded that song is the Kingston Trio.
Cool. Yeah, it's not them.
It's not that. I didn't think it
Uh,
was because it sounded newer. It sounded more 70s than early 60s.
okay.
Um,
Hmm.
so I'm not sure who it is doing that song. The
Let me
second
know the
was
second one
Jukebox
because I know you're
Hero
going to get
by Foreigner because I was listening to the deluxe version of that album today.
that. Ha.
And that's
And
another
that,
song that is bigger than its chart position would suggest.
absolutely. I mean, it's a song that they can name um, one of their 8,000 compilations after and make complete
Yeah.
sense.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's spot on. I knew you'd get that one. But yeah, the Where Have All the Flowers Gone has been recorded by a ton of people over the years, but the one that made 26 is actually from 1965. And it's a gentleman that we mentioned in passing last time round, Johnny Rivers.
Okay. Yeah.
And that was from his album Johnny Rivers Rocks the Folk, where he was basically jumping on the folk rock trend of 65 and yeah, uh, doing what the title said, basically. Uh, but yeah, we when it comes to choosing the song out of those two, uh, if it was your choice, you might have gone with that just to hear something different. But I'm going to stick with the classics and play what I have read is Lou Graham's personal favorite foreigner
I
song.
think so. Yeah.
And I think of all the songs on this list, it's far and away my most played. So let's play it again. Why not? Here we go. And that is how you end a song. Why don't people do that all the time?
Yeah. No fade out. Just and one of the cool things about the deluxe version of Foreigner 4 is you hear there's a version of a song called Take One Guitar, which is the original sort of germ of the idea. And it's essentially the same song, but they didn't have the Jukebox Hero hook yet. It was basically He's Got Stars in His Eyes. That's the chorus.
Okay.
It's really cool to hear the formative versions of it. Not all the lyrics are the same, but it's really cool where you hear like this is good, but it could be better.
Right. And you see the development. I mean, I find I don't tend to buy those sorts of things because those are really interesting to hear once. And then it's like,
Well,
am I going to
and
play that again? Probably
I don't
not.
always buy them, but I think it's got 5 unreleased songs on, and I don't mean like embryonic versions of songs that we know, like 5 totally different songs, and there's a really good
Oh, really?
live disc on it. So yeah, no, it's worth picking up. Uh, it probably is their best album from start to finish that isn't like a hits compilation, my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty rare for me to think that somebody's biggest album also happens to be their best, but I think that is one of the exceptions
Yeah,
that proves the rule.
yeah. But the only
um,
thing that I think comes close is the first album. It's pretty good too.
well, I've got a real soft spot for Mr. Moonlight of all albums
I like
because
that album. You know what? I like that album too. Nobody talks about that. But yeah, Under the Gun and White Lie and yeah, there's some good stuff on there. It didn't stand a chance when it came out.
no, it was absolutely. I mean, who was having hits from that era in the mid 90s? Well, a couple
Although,
managed to come
having
out.
said that, this obscure trivia, but the ballad "Until the End of Time" almost hit the top 40 in the
Almost made
States.
yeah,
I
42.
think it hit 42, but it went all the way to 18 here in Canada.
Okay. Oh
And that
well,
was,
Jukebox Hero, and that by contrast is one that oh, this is one that's definitely going to have done better in Canada, but it actually didn't. It was only 39 there and 48 in the UK.
what's interesting about that is unlike In Your Eyes, I can almost hear why it wasn't just a huge across the board hit. And as funny as this sounds, if you think about top 40 air, if you listen to an average top 40 chart from 1981, that's actually a pretty heavy song for top
mm,
40 airwaves, considering. But the funny thing about Jukebox Hero is that, again, chart positions don't mean much. One of my favorite sort of unsung foreigner songs is Break It Up. Like Jukebox Hero, it peaked at 26, but I never hear
yeah,
that
it
unless
might
I
be on
make
the
it a
list.
point, unless I make it a point to listen to that album.
Yeah.
I had the privilege of interviewing Lou Gramm about 13 years ago, and he agreed. He thought that was one of the best songs in the album. But by that time, the record label had like 3 or 4 singles out. He figures they'd made their money.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they could have made more.
Well, yeah, exactly. And
It's one of his
then,
best vocals, I think. One of his best vocal performances on it, on the whole
well,
album.
yeah, it's stunning. And I, it's one of those things where I saw Foreigner with Lou Gramm on the Mr. Moonlight tour, as it turned out. But it's one of those things where you really want to go back and enjoy it properly because at the time it was a double header with the Doobie Brothers, and that's why I was going. It was for the Doobies, and I didn't really know. I knew two Foreigner songs, "Waiting for a Girl Like You" and "I Want to Know What Love Is." I thought, oh, I
Right.
guess those are okay. And then that night I found out what Foreigner are really about. Um,
Yeah. The cool that I saw Foreigner in '98 with Lou. But Lou was not in very good shape at that time. He was very
yeah,
sick and they had to be on the road contractually. But I remember I didn't understand why he wasn't singing very well. I really didn't get it. And I found out
Yeah,
later, I was like, oh, I kind of felt bad. Then I saw him solo in 2006, and I'm happy to say he was a great deal better than he had been 8 years earlier. He was in much better vocal form. Wasn't where he was in the late 70s and early 80s, but few people
yeah,
are. And then I
no,
saw them, great triple bill. My wife and I saw in 2018, we saw it was Jason Bonham's Led Zeppelin experience, Whitesnake, and Foreigner. And Foreigner, this by now was with Kelly Hansen, who did a fantastic job.
yeah. It's just a pity that they didn't make more use of him and get more than one studio album out during his long time with the
I
band. But
re you know, yeah, there's really so much, there's so many. I have that complaint about a lot of bands, which is why admire so many bands that, whether they sell or not, just keep putting out new music. Whereas like a band like Foreigner, they just stopped.
yeah, I mean, you can understand. Nobody's selling when when you're used to selling a million plus without really blinking, then selling 100,000 copies, which is pretty good in this day and age, is like, oh, why even bother? So I guess that
I get
was,
it, but there are fans out there like me who will buy. I want to hear new. I want more new music, not less, from these bands because we don't have
yeah.
them forever.
But I guess we're in the minority, and they go out and play the hits, and
Definitely in the minority. Yeah, and it's, hey,
which
you know
is
what?
fine.
They're great. They were lucky enough to have enough hits to be able to do that.
Speaking of sort of new foreigner music, Lou Graham's got a new album coming out very soon, I believe, which is, I think, mostly not brand new material. I'm not
Older songs,
100%
yeah,
sure on that. Yeah.
yeah.
So I'll have to check that out. But I haven't even heard. Presumably there's a preview single or three out by now, but I haven't heard anything from it myself so far. But it's on the radar. But again, well done on the scores. You've got 4.5 out of 5 so far. So that's pretty good going. And I can guarantee you're going to get at least one more because you've already mentioned it. So
Oh, okay,
um, so let's see. I'll again give you three this time, and it'll be up to you to choose one once we're done. I probably won't make you listen to all of Foreigner 4 again if you've already listened to it today. That's just pure coincidence. Okay, so here we go. Number one.
Fools rush in, so here I am.
All right, number two. And number three.
I guess we used to be the lucky ones.
Okay,
okay.
what we got there?
The first one sounds Motown to me. I don't know if it is or not. It could be a 70s sort of R&B song. I don't know. I caught the Fools Rush In part. Um, is it the Supremes?
No, you're in the right era, but not the right sound, as it turns out.
Okay.
I don't think you're going to guess that one, so I'll let you know that it is. It's the Mamas and the Papas,
Okay.
um,
Okay.
and the song is called "Glad to Be Unhappy," which is actually from uh, a Rodgers and Hart musical called "On Your Toes," which I have never heard of, but that's a Rodgers and Hart musical from 1936. So
Okay.
it's a case where they'd recorded the song. The record company says, we need something to keep you in the public eye because the new album's not ready yet. So what have you got? And they just sort of threw that out. So um, that's where that one sits. And then the
Okay.
other
The
two,
second,
and
yeah, the second one was definitely elected by Alice Cooper.
absolutely.
And I'm pretty sure the third one is Styx because it sounds an awful lot like Dennis DeYoung. It doesn't sound like Dennis DeYoung solo because it sounds 70s. Now, I'll be honest, of all of those AOR bands, Styx is not a band I've not delved into very, which a lot of people are surprised to hear that. I certainly like some of their songs. I've just never dove in.
Mm,
Now, I know they had a lot of top 10s, but they also had a lot of top 40s. And just based on looking up chart information, there are two song titles that come to mind.
okay.
There are
Okay.
two song titles that come to mind. Now, if I get one of them right, can I get a half point by
Oh,
giving you two answers?
you've already got a half point for getting the band right. So I can only give you a quarter point if you don't get
Okay.
the. So
So
give me your first choice. If you give me that,
my
then
first choice is Why Me?
right, there you go. You don't need to give the
Oh,
second. Just spot on.
perfect. Great. The other one I would have said was Borrowed Time.
Okay. And that only made 64.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Somehow that title sprang into my mind. Now, are
well,
we looking for
again,
connections here, whether you meant
yeah,
it or whether you intended it or not? Well, I do know that years later, on Alice's album called The Last Temptation, there's a couple of songs that Tommy Shaw co-wrote.
I
No?
can tell you that, well, you've got the right pairing. It is Alice Cooper and Styx. It's just not the right reason.
Oh,
But it's a good reason. So I'm going to give you the marks. I'll tell you the actual reason that I had put down. And again, this is the most tenuous of all the pairings today. Um, both Alice and Styx were on our list of songs that reached number 25. So we had Love
oh,
at First Sight from
that's
Styx
right.
and
Yeah,
No More Mr. Nice
that's
Guy
that's
from
right.
Alice.
Yeah.
Again, this would have made more sense if we'd done this one first rather than another whole batch in between to throw you off. But that's on me. So yeah, I'm giving you that one. So yeah, you're being points are flying all over the place today. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think well, not last time, but last year when we looked at the 25s and you mentioned that you probably hadn't heard the Styx track since 1990 itself, I thought, oh, I thought Styx would be right up your wheelhouse. So, but we've all got bands that we've just never really got into in a big way for whatever reason. So, yeah, I mean, I'm relatively recent to. I picked up the five best
Okay.
album
So
box.
what album is that Why Me from?
You're right at the 70s, but only just so it's
Oh,
Cornerstone from
Cornerstone. Yeah. Okay.
79.
That's 79. Yeah.
And because the only reason that was released as a single was because the record company wanted to put out First Time, which is another ballad to follow on from Babe.
Yeah.
And Tommy Shaw was like, no, we're not doing that. Pick something else.
Yeah.
So, yeah, First Time probably would have done better, but I think Tommy was right that they didn't want to do ballad upon ballad at that point.
Boy, that would
Uh,
have been, yeah, that would have been, detrimental, I think.
yeah. And it won't surprise you to find out that that's why Me does not feature heavily in recent Styx setlist side. And they are, it has to be mentioned, given we just talked about Foreigner and bands who don't record new albums, they have in the past decade put out three
They've
new
been
albums that are
they've been very
really top
prolific,
notch.
and they have a Canadian singing for them. So
Well, yeah,
a very talented Canadian who, throughout the 80s, just simply going by his surname Gowan, was practically a household name here in Canada. So to the rest of the world, it's like, oh, Styx got a new singer. Us here in Canada, it's like Gowan singing for Styx.
well, you know,
It was like I'm sure that there's a comparison that you could think of, like a UK where someone was a very well-known solo artist in the UK but not really anywhere else, then they got a gig singing with a really popular band worldwide.
mm,
Okay,
nothing of it.
here's an
Oh,
example.
you've got
Here's
one?
an Australian example. John Farnham.
Yeah,
John Farnham was a huge star in Australia, and he joined the Little River Band, and that's how most people know him internationally, I think.
yeah, yeah. Although sadly, even then, not well enough because
Not well
his
enough, yeah.
his era kind of tailed off quite quickly commercially, which is why he returned to his solo career and became bigger than
Even
ever in
bigger.
Australia.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, in fact, he opened for Billy Joel in 1987, so he was the first person I ever saw live.
Okay.
But now that you've identified just about all of that, okay, you missed the Mamas and the Papas, but that was the hardest one on the list for sure. But which of the three do you want to have a listen to?
Well, let's educate myself here. Play the Styx song, please.
Okay, cool. This is one I don't really know particularly well myself either. So, I mean, I can see I played it 5 times. I haven't had the set for very long at all, so that explains that. So yeah, let's find out why me stored outside the top 20. Here we go.
I guess we used to be the lucky ones.
All right, it's fade out time again, but at least it's a quick fade out.
Relatively
I just
quick.
hate them when they drag out for hours.
I was looking that up. That actually went to number 10 in Canada.
Yeah. Do you know? You probably don't, but it was actually their fourth and final song to hit top 10 in Canada without having been top 10 in the States. So Canada really loves Styx, which is another reason that I just assumed that you would.
Well, it's funny. What I've learned is that A&M Records promoted heavily promoted their acts in Canada. Supertramp was huge here. Nazareth were superstars here in Canada for about 10 years. Like they were
Wow.
way more successful in Canada. They're almost an honorary Canadian band. From like 73 to 82, every album they put out went gold here.
Again, just shows hits don't happen by themselves. They have to be given the push by the record company and radio, and
Yeah.
otherwise people just don't know that they exist. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, what did we make of that song? It's probably not going to
It was all
send you
right. I
rushing
mean,
out to every
it
album.
definitely sounds like I mean, it's got what I know to be sort of the Styx trademarks, the harmonies. I got to say, I wasn't expecting the saxophone solo. That kind of threw
Yeah,
me for a loop, but very
Steve
distinctive,
Eisen
like
on the sax there.
Dennis DeYoung on the Fender Rhodes. That's got a very distinctive sound, like the beginning of Babe, and like there's no
Yeah,
mistaking that for any other instrument.
yeah. Um, I mean, I think that there were better singles options on there than they possibly should have gone for. Even Borrowed Time, which followed it, might have had a better shot as a second single. But you've also got Boat on the River on this album, which is a cool kind of acoustic Tommy Shaw
Apparently,
tune.
that was a hit in
And
the UK and Europe, but not in the States.
yeah, and the opening track, Lights, as well, is a really strong one. And it's not to be, of course, confused with Journey's
Journey. Yeah,
Lights.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Which also
uh,
wasn't a top 40 single, but people know
yeah,
it. That one and Wheel in the Sky.
yeah, it's funny how some songs have their lives extended. I mean,
I
Be or
think
the
what
Diamond selling
happens,
greatest hits album helps.
I think what happens is the band gets more popular, and then sometimes radio will go back and say, well, what did we miss? REO
Yeah,
Speedwagon's kind of like that with Roll with the Changes and Time for Me to Fly. Neither of those hit the top 40, but they get a lot of airplay even still.
yeah. And yeah, so we've just got two left. We haven't really talked about the song in the middle, which was Elected from Alice Cooper, which of course is again from Billion Dollar Babies, as was No More Mr. Nice Guy. And that's 73. That's an album that had four singles, which is pretty unusual for
That
that period.
was unheard of. Usually you had one steady hit per album and then it was on to the next album because you put an album out a year, sometimes two. In the case of
Yeah.
Alice Cooper, that happened to them twice. And Elected actually came out way before the album came out.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it came out well in advance of the album, almost kind of by itself, and actually had a promotional video made for it, which is quite funny.
And that's one of the many, many videos that predates what everybody thinks was the first music video. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. Most people will say it's Bohemian Rhapsody and be completely wrong.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that has had a myth built up around it that
Well,
doesn't
then
quite live up to its reputation.
some people will say there's Beatles clips that qualify, and I've even heard people say there's a Tony Bennett clip of him walking around lip syncing to a song that from the 50s that qualifies as a music video. So, and then
Right,
some of the, like Jailhouse Rock from, the Elvis movie. I mean, what is that if not a music video with a set?
right. And
So
uh, some Canadians beat Queen to the punch there too. The Guess Who did one for Dancing for.
that's right.
Uh,
Yeah.
okay, so just two tracks left, and yeah, I mean, you were scoring almost through the roof today.
I'm
So,
surprising myself tonight, but you're picking just seemingly the right ones for me. I don't know.
well, as we know, out of the final two, you've got one sewn up already. Um, so it just remains to see what order they come out in, and if you can nab that other one and then find the remaining connections between all of these songs. But we'll worry about that at the end. So uh, let's see where we go. Which, of course, leaves as our final track.
Oh,
And I know I don't need to give you any more of that. So,
oh, that first one sounds familiar. Can you play that one more time?
absolutely. A little bit extra
It's
there.
it's not going to come to me, but it sounds very, very familiar. Sounds 70s.
Yeah. Um,
Hmm. Um, wow. don't
While you're
necessarily.
thinking about that, do you want to let us know what the other one was?
Well, it's break
For
it
anyone
up
who's a
by
bit slow.
it's break it up by Foreigner. But I was gonna say if you really wanted to be cruel to someone and just did like an all 80s show, play the first three notes of Break It Up, and then play the first three notes of Carry by Europe because they're the exact same.
Yeah.
Even that electric piano sound, then it's the same sound.
Yes.
So
I
if somebody could identify the difference with just those three notes, they'd have some pretty keen ears because I don't know that I could because they're so close together. Just the first three notes.
when I hear Carrie, I think, oh, that's Carrie. But when I hear Break It Up, I think, oh, is that Carrie? Oh no, it's yeah,
I know. Well, that's the better known song, right? The one that's gotten the more
yeah.
play over the years. That first one, that dun, dun, that boy, that sounds familiar. I don't even know if it's something that I necessarily own, but I know that song. Oh boy. Oh, look, I'm just gonna throw a name out. I don't know the song. Is it
Right.
Foghat?
No, no, it's not.
Okay.
Um,
Can
if
you
you
play it just a little bit more of it, maybe? No,
sure,
I mean
I'll just
I've already not gotten it. I just for my own I just want
yeah.
to see if I can get it.
Okay, I'll give you another few seconds, see what difference that will make, and I'll carry on from where we left off. So, in three, two, one.
Okay, is
Does
that
that
Steely
help at
Dan?
all? It is Steely
Those
Dan.
chord
Yeah.
changes. Those chord changes. Um Now what song I don't know if I'd know what song it is, but yeah, those jazzy kind of chord changes is what did it for me.
Give you a half mark on that.
Let's
Can you
see.
can you pluck a song from the ether?
I know this isn't it. Is it Black Friday?
No, no. That
Okay.
was a number 37 from an album, two albums before this one. So I'll put you out of your misery. It's the third and final single from the Asia album. It's Josie.
Josie. I see. I knew I'd heard it before. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, let's actually hear it in full. Why not?
Yeah, sure.
After all, you've already heard "Break It Up" yourself today, so
That's that I have, yeah, definitely.
don't want to bash you over the head with too much foreigner, if there can be such a thing. So yeah, this is I love the band, but this isn't really one of my favorites from them. But it is, of course, the closer of what most people consider their best album. So let's give it a go. It's Josie. Here we go. Right. So Josie, our fourth and final selection for today's random foreplay. Oh, I'd forgotten that was coming up. Now, anybody who didn't just have Carrie coming in their head, let
Yeah.
us know. Um, now, we clearly gone on way too many tangents because even with an extended Zoom meeting, we've got 7 minutes before we self-destruct. So um, we'll jump straight to the scores. And out of the main 10 songs here, including a couple of half marks, pretty impressive 8 out of 10. Uh, that was well done. So you've already identified two of the pairings, and I suspect that now that we've had all the 10 songs come out, you'll be able to guess the rest, even if it's by process of elimination. But do you want to run through that if you can remember all the songs that were on the list?
Um, let's see. So the last two were Steely Dan and Foreigner, and I can't quite think of anything in common there.
And how
Um,
about Foreigner and a song we might have heard earlier?
well, did we hear anything else that Mutt Lang produced
Yeah, we did.
that wasn't Jukebox
Uh,
Hero?
yes, no. There you go. That's it's as simple as that. It's Jukebox
Oh,
Hero and Break It Up.
okay.
I'm
Too
I've
obvious, I thought. I thought that can't be it. That
there,
can't be it.
there we are. So
Yeah.
along that level of obviousness, we had right at the top of the show, we had Genesis and Peter Gabriel. So along those lines, there's one other
Oh,
pairing.
Donald Fagen and Steely Dan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there we go. And so uh, uh, I'll use the process of elimination myself to let you know that it was the Mamas and the Papas and Johnny Rivers being the other pair. And you probably won't get this, I'm expecting, but there's two answers that I would accept if you want to have a quick speculation on that. No.
No.
Well, you just mentioned Mutt Lange. He didn't produce those in the 60s, obviously, but it was a producer connection. Lou Adler was producer of both of
Lou
those
Adler.
tracks.
Okay.
And speaking of Lou Adler, he, along with John Phillips, were two of the four main people behind the Monterey Pop Festival in '67, at which both the Mamas and Papas and Johnny Rivers performed.
I have heard of that, but I don't know if I could have brought it to the fore.
Yeah, it's to be fair, most people remember it for the Who and Jimi Hendrix more than those two artists. But yeah, obviously, pretty significant event. But yeah, I mean, what am I going to give you there out of the bonus points? Two for sure. Again, the Alice Cooper and Styx one, I'm giving you the full mark because it was a connection I didn't know. So I can't mark you down for not.
That's applied knowledge, is what they call that. It wasn't on the test, but they can tell you studied for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you got the Steely Dan one with a little bit of a nudge, and I'm going to call it 3, and so give you 11 out of 15. Anyone at home who managed to beat that, I don't believe you, but tell me you did in the comments anyway, and I'll pretend to. But yeah, going to have to wrap things up. But thanks very much again to Tim for joining me for this one. And if you haven't already had enough and you haven't yet caught our previous look at 10 other 26s from across the years, then that will be floating around somewhere for you to click on. And it just leaves me to say thanks for watching and bye for now, but not for long.
It's the end, but the moment has been prepared for.